And I've had some people say, well, I found this lower price and da-da-da, and I'm like, that's a guaranteed room. Guaranteed rooms are kind of scary because you don't know where you're going to land on the ship.
Oh,
They could put you at the very front, in the very front room on the very lowest floor of the ship, or they could put you in the very back on the very top floor. And sometimes I'll have to ask people, and this is, I guess, more where my experience also lends a hand, because I have had some seasickness on some of our trips.
Okay.
And I'll say, do you get seasick? And they're like, well, I don't know. I've never been on a ship before. Okay, well, then we probably need to put you like midship, kind of middle of the ship, completely up and down and front to back, because
Welcome to the Crossover Podcast, where each week we interview entrepreneurs and their journeys to success. This week we have a special guest, Jennie Holmes. She's a real estate agent, a travel agent, and runs her own crafting business. In this podcast, she'll go over tips on ways to make your trips truly memorable. Let's go.
So I am a mom of four. Been married for 23 years. I got my real estate license in 2014. I also run a crafting business that I've had for 19 years. And I have a travel agency that I started. I started working as a travel agent 5 years ago, but I started my own business 2 years ago.
Okay. And where are you from?
I'm from Mississippi.
Mississippi?
Yeah. The accent gave it away.
Just a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your travel agency.
So I love to travel. That's just my thing. And I think that anyone that can travel should. I think you learn a lot by learning about other cultures and seeing other things that people have. So that was kind of my passion for wanting to get into doing travel agent work in general. Mostly I end up booking a lot of cruises. Most people love cruises. And I think it's a great way to get out and do different things. Like we personally have done cruises out of Spain, and we've seen World War II, historical locations, and we've seen caves with stalactites and stalagmites hanging over our heads and under our feet, and I just think it's kind of cool. So I try to find people budget-friendly trips, not necessarily cheap trips, but budget-friendly trips, so you can go out and learn and do and see as much as you possibly can.
So what's the furthest place you've been?
Spain is probably the furthest I've been so far. Yeah. My husband and my daughter just got back from Japan. So for our family, that would be the furthest one that they've done on vacation. But yeah, when we did Spain, that was really cool. We kind of hop, skipped, and jumped to Spain, and then we caught a cruise ship back to New York. Really? So we left here and went to New York, and we explored for a couple of days, and then we went to Paris for one day and explored there for a couple of hours. We just were basically jumping planes, like using our layovers to explore the cities. So did Paris, and then the next morning we caught a train, which was really cool, and we rode to Barcelona. So we got to see the whole backcountry of Barcelona and the backcountry of Spain and France. It was gorgeous. It was a really neat trip, and we saw so much. We ended up, on the way back, we visited Malaga, Spain. We went to Lisbon. We went to Nova Scotia, which was really cool, in Canada, and other places we weren't even on my radar. We went to Gibraltar, which I'd never heard of, which my husband kind of teased me about, because as a Christian, apparently it's something I should have heard about at some point, and maybe I just missed it. But it was really amazing. It had a lot of history to it. They have monkeys in Gibraltar, which were kind of a cool experience. They actually jumped on your arms and sat on you and talked to you and stuff, and chatter at you. And it was just neat. Apparently, if the monkeys are there, Spain keeps possession of that island or whatever. If the monkeys are ever gone, it goes back to a different country. So it was just neat hearing all the stories and getting to do all the different stuff. We got to see the Pillars of Hercules, too, which I'd never heard of.
Okay.
And from the pillars, you can see Africa. So I was like, well, this is really cool. You can see a whole other continent from just where we're standing on a rock. It was just an amazing experience, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
what is your business consist of? So what is it exactly that you do as a travel agent?
So most people reach out to me, and most people that reach out have kind of an idea of what they want to do. Either they want to do a cruise, or they want to do a trip to somewhere, an all-inclusive, or they want to do a hop, skip, and a jump kind of thing where we kind of book multiple places. But they'll reach out and kind of give me an idea of what they want to do and when they want to do it, give me an idea of who's going, and then I sit down and just kind of research what I can find. I have some people that are super easy and are just like, I want to do a cruise to the Caribbean anytime from this date to this date. Find me a good deal. Find me the biggest ship. Find me this, whatever. So I kind of narrow it down, and I know enough because I cruise enough. I know enough about the ports, and I know enough about the ships that I can kind of direct them just because I have personal experience from doing it. So we're actually going on a cruise in September on the Carnival celebration. I've never been on one that big, and I don't know a lot about it. So that I can help my guest book more experiences doing that particular ship, I wanted to go and try it. So it has a roller coaster on it. It has a zip line.
Really?
Like, we're super excited to try it out. Yeah, it's all new
ship?
stuff. The ship's huge. It holds like 5,000 or 6,000 people, I think.
Really?
It's big. And I'm excited about it. So.
I've actually never been on a cruise, and I'm
Oh my
afraid
goodness.
to. Like, I don't think I could.
No,
be
don't be
in-
afraid. It's super fun. I mean, I'll have some people that reach out and they'll say, I just want a lazy beach trip. I'm like, cool. If you don't mind an airline ticket, you go out of Orlando. There's a great ship going out of there that goes to Grand Turk and it goes to Bimini. Just 2 beaches. You can hop off and do the beach and enjoy the sun, and it's a very easy Caribbean cruise. And then I'll have some people that will say, I want a massive experience. I want to do all this fun, just adventurous things. And actually, when we do the celebration, we're doing something I've never done before, too. We're doing waterfalls in Dominican Republic.
Okay.
But it's not like the typical waterfall you think of where there's water flowing off a rock. It's more like the waterfalls run through the rocks. So they have, like, paths that you can get in and slide down instead of just looking at it or jumping in water. So we'll be sliding down a rock formation, apparently.
awesome.
And then they have some jumps. There's one that's like a 25-foot jump, and I'm terrified of heights. So I may be walking the steps to get down that one. But my kids are excited to jump, like, in the water.
In the water. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, what are some challenges that you think you face as a travel agent? Like, and how have you overcome
Some of the same ones that I would say I face in all of my businesses is just mainly sourcing your leads and sourcing your clients. It's, you put your name out as best you can, you advertise as best you can, but you still don't reach everybody.
Right.
So it takes a little while sometimes to build up a business. And I've got other agents now working underneath me, and that's the struggle that they're working with currently, is trying to find their people. And I've told them, you can specialize in different parts of travel, and sometimes that helps you kind of hone in. I have one travel agent that currently is working just doing Scotland. And she's gotten into a Facebook group, and they've actually hired her to do a group trip next year. So she'll be helping all of them just with Scotland. And I tend to gravitate towards cruises, so that's more what I do. But I also do things like Disney and, all of the other theme parks, Universal and things like that. But I have one girl that loves Disney, so that's one of the things. She's really taken the reins on it and kind of just jumped in and started planning a lot of Disney trips.
So, what's best for you to get clients?
Social media.
Social media?
Yeah, it's gotten to be the best way to do just about any form of marketing for my businesses. I'm involved in tons of groups. I go in, I try and provide value. I'll answer questions. I try not to pitch a whole lot of me for sales. But I hope that people understand that I'm capable of helping them get through all of the difficulties when they're trying to book different situations, different travel, whatever. The cruises can be daunting to people that have never been on a cruise before if they don't know anything about it. It just helps that I know you tell me what you want. I know exactly where to put you instead of you having to go in and research it. The Disney trips can be kind of confusing because there's a lot of planning involved. So I try and get into the groups and just answer questions as best I can. But I also advertise in my own business page, and I advertise on my personal page and, kind of reach out every which direction I can. Trying to learn how to utilize Instagram better.
Okay.
Because I think that's got a lot of potential, and I would love to get more on TikTok, but my kids are trying to teach me that one. So
Okay. Yeah, social media. Have you done videos before?
A few, not very many. Yeah, I'm not super comfortable on camera. I'm learning to get more comfortable on camera. The accent is something I always worry somebody's gonna. I've had people make comments about my accent being hard to understand.
Really?
So yeah.
No, not at all.
So I think I have a fear of getting on and talking because I worry about what they're gonna say. But then again, sometimes it helps. They like to hear the y'alls, and they like to hear just some of the funny nuances we have from the South. So
Yeah, the first time I met you, for the first thing I heard was your voice and everything, and I thought it was super cool.
Well, good.
So
I'm glad.
How do you as a travel agent assistant navigating travel issues like cancellations or delays?
Yep, we've had that too, especially in the last year. We've had, there's been more weather issues with planes lately.
Okay.
We have a lot more storms, it seems like, running through, especially when I'm sending people down to Florida for cruises. They tend to run into some storms from hurricanes or tropical storms or whatever. So I'm able to hop on the phone. The client can sit in the airport and not have to be on the phone for hours and hours. And I was a travel agent during COVID. So, like, I did. That was a lot. Yeah.
Was it?
I have one family, and I know she won't mind if I bring her up, but they have adopted or had 13 children. So there's 15 of them total every time I book their trips.
Really?
And now they're starting to add in significant others, so it gets even bigger. And they had a couple cruises booked during COVID. And I had to call and sit on the phone with Carnival and kind of hash out where money was going. And she didn't really want to return it because if you left it with Carnival, they had some perks to leaving it and kind of waiting for the cruise industry to come back. So it was many, many days and lots of hours on the phone just navigating that. And she sat at home and enjoyed her kids while they were all locked in with COVID. So, you know, it was just, that's kind of one of the perks. I always tell people it's not necessarily about getting the best deal because sometimes I'm not the cheapest price you can find. But it's the help I can offer in that situation if you have a cancellation or a delay or if you need help navigating where to even go in the first place.
Would you say that online, because of how much it has grown, do you think that has helped you or that has hurt your business?
I think it's helped. I think it's helped, because a lot more people get on and see things that they may or may not want to do, and then they're able to reach out to me and say, hey, I saw this video about, you know, Nassau. Like my son's fiance. Next month when we go, she's like, I saw this video of them swimming with pigs. Like, I want to go swim with pigs. And I'm like, where did you see that? Online. Okay, cool. Like, it's kind of, it's advertising for me for experiences they may want to do, and then they come to me with the help that they may need to get it done. So I don't mind the online. I think it helps kind of reach. Plus, I've reached people all over the United States. In the Carnival group that I'm in, I picked up a client in Tennessee, and I'm involved in Tennessee because that's where we're from and we still have family there, but she's in an area of Tennessee I've never been to. So I was able to help her. The lady with the 13 kids, she's in Nebraska.
Really?
And I actually met her through a Disney group I was in years ago. So, so I've known her for a long time. She used to be, because I also have the crafting business, her kids, I used to make them custom clothes to go to Disney. So awesome. I made T-shirts and dresses and just fun things, and now she'll have me make, last year they went to the lake and I made them some hoodies for the lake. So it was some kind of special lake in their area that they went to, and she wanted something to signify their vacation as a family. So, awesome. It's helped out. I get to see a lot of people in a lot of different places.
So what kind of personalized services can a travel agent provide that I wouldn't find booking on my own?
So if you're booking on your own, I always tell people, because I do specialize more in cruises, we'll use that as an example. You don't necessarily know where to be on the ship, and sometimes that's an important thing that people don't think about. They just hop on. I've had some people say, well, I found this lower price, and da-da-da, and I'm like, that's a guaranteed room. Guaranteed rooms are kind of scary because you don't know where you're going to land on the ship. They could put you at the very front, in the very front room on the very lowest floor of the ship, or they could put you in the very back on the very top floor. And sometimes I'll have to ask people, and this is, I guess, more where my experience also lends a hand, because I have had some seasickness on some of our trips. And I'll say, do you get seasick? And they're like, well, I don't know. I've never been on a ship before. Okay, well, then we probably need to put you like midship, kind of middle of the ship, completely. Up and down and front to back. Because it helps kind of keep the waves at a minimum. So it helps people who may have some seasickness. And some people don't know that. And then some people also don't know, if the casino is below you, you may smell the smoke coming up from the casino. If you have the food floor above your head, you may hear carts rolling across your head.
Okay, so the little details.
The little details, yeah. I try and make it so that you're in a good place on the ship. I've gotten you the most cost-effective room that's going to fit your situation, so you're not throwing up the whole time you're on a boat.
So do you, as a travel agent, find, like, different deals that I wouldn't find online on my own?
Sometimes we do, yeah. Sometimes we can get in and dig around, and we get emails daily on different sales that are being offered. So sometimes when I get those sales, I'll go in and mock up a trip, and I'll use social media to blast that out and say, hey, I got this thing from an all-inclusive in Costa Rica. We've been to Costa Rica. I love that, too. Been to, this place in Costa Rica. You should go. It's got black sandy beaches. It's got this. It's got that. Look at the amazing price. So, yeah, sometimes we get better deals because it's through our agency and they have a one-on-one deal with us. So, yeah.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about travel
About
agents?
using a travel agent?
Yeah.
That we're always going to get you the cheapest price.
Really?
Yeah, I have a lot of people who are like, I'm calling you because I need a deal.
Okay.
It's not about the deal. It's about the
That's not how it
experience and the
works,
help
yeah.
I can offer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just
Yeah.
like a realtor, like. It's not
Yeah. It's not always about finding the cheapest or, I'm sure someone can go out and find, and I do have Expedia as a vendor. So I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I'm going to see Expedia just like you do. So I do look for inexpensive, but I also may not be, there's a couple of companies on there, and I don't want to throw out names, but they'll hold rooms as soon as the rooms are released. So what the vendors do is they'll release rooms like a year and a half to 2 years before the trips are actually going to occur. And those big companies will grab a huge chunk of rooms and they'll hang on to them forever. And as they get closer and closer and closer, they'll either discount them to get rid of them because it's so close now they're just going to be stuck with the inventory.
Right.
Or they'll have caught it at such a great price when it first hit that they have a really low price. Well, if you call me a year later from when they got it, my price is going to be higher because it's going to go
course,
up
right,
the closer
yeah.
the trip gets. So I may not be able to beat their pricing, but they're not going to help you if you have a cancellation. They're just going to tell you too bad. And I have had people have that happen. I've had a couple people that booked cruises that were through some of those companies, and they arrived at the cruise company, and it was a guaranteed room, and there's no room. The cruise sold their room out from underneath them
So what
because
do
they
they
booked
do?
through a third. They go home.
Really?
Yeah,
Ouch.
there's been some horror stories about people getting booted off of cruise ships that didn't have rooms.
Do you have any horror stories that you
I
can
don't have
share?
a whole lot. I don't. I had one lady that was a little fussy about her spot in Hawaii where she wanted to be, and I got her the same deal she had found somewhere else. And when she got there, she didn't love the room, and I was like, well, it was exactly what you were going to book
Right, yeah.
on your own. I just helped you do it. But other than that, not really. I don't have too many horror
You're
stories.
too good.
Not necessarily too good. I think I just have been doing it long enough. I know what I'm
Right,
doing.
of
So
course,
I
yeah.
make sure people have a good experience.
So is there one that a good experience that you could share that you with your clients?
The transatlantic cruise was pretty cool.
Okay.
And I've had a couple of clients do different, what they call journey cruises, so they're much longer. We personally have done a long one to Hawaii. We've done a long one, the transatlantic. The big family has done a long one through the Panama Canal, and they said that was amazing. So that's kind of on my bucket list. We haven't done that one yet. I want to do it. But honestly, for people who are looking for more of like a time allotted type cruise, because those long ones are not great for everybody.
Sure,
like you
yeah.
have to have the vacation time and the family situation that we currently have to be able to do things like that. Our kids are functional. They're all older.
Right.
So we can leave for small stints of time, and with me working online mostly, I can navigate from a distance. Honestly, the most fun cruise we've done that wasn't a long one was Alaska.
Alaska.
Alaska was amazing. You get to see a lot of things. I booked us an excursion doing whale watching, and that was probably one of the most amazing things I've ever done as far as like animal interaction. Because these massive whale were like right underneath us, and they breached the
Really?
water and flipped their tail, and
It's not scary?
it's
Not
not scary.
it's
They're
just-
not. I mean, they're not there to attack you. They're just moving
Right.
around. Yeah, they're trying to eat, and they come up there to raise the young that they had down in. I think they have them in Hawaii and then move them in the winter or in the
Okay.
summer up to Alaska. Because they like the cooler water, so they kind of stay where it's not frozen, but it's chilly. So we saw some baby whale, too, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
My husband teases because we've been to Alaska twice, and we've yet to see a bear. And he's like, all I wanted to see was a bear. I
bear?
promise they're just not there. And I'm like, they're there. We just haven't seen them.
Is there any other animals that you've seen that...
We've seen all kinds of stuff. Alaska, we saw a moose.
Okay.
And her baby, which was a little scary because we were walking, and they are not happy when you're near their kids.
Right,
so
right.
we hightailed it and got out of there. The same time we saw the whale, we saw a ton of seal, which were really cool to see out in the open. But we also saw bald eagles, which
Okay.
I've never seen those out in the wild. And my husband's retired military. Like, the bald eagle signifies something to our family as far as patriotism and the United States kind of stuff. You just kind of get the skin crawly thing when you see them because they're just so cool to see.
Right, right.
And they were nesting and stuff too, so you could see all of that going on in that area.
Okay.
And then down in the Caribbean, we've gone and we've swam with stingrays. We've done that. I've done that twice. And we've done the monkeys in Gibraltar was so cool. they actually were like following us around as we were doing different excursions because they're everywhere on the island, but they're specifically up on top. Well, the Pillars of Hercules is up high, and so are the caves. And then they took us to the monkey area where they feed them so we could see them. But they were in every place we were at, so they would like watch us and turn their heads and they scratch their necks and look at us really funny, like we were going to hand them food. But we did have to do some prep work on that one because they warn you not to bring purses that can like be snatched off of you, and it can't have a zipper that they can open. So I actually have one where the zipper locks because they'll get into your stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that on TikTok where they just take your stuff and run.
Yep. They'll just grab it and run off.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we didn't have any bad interactions. They were all fine, but yeah, it was fun. I was trying to think of what other animals. We've done dolphins. I did that with my daughter a couple years ago. I don't know, just we try and do whatever we can. So this next trip, we're going to Monkeyland after we do the waterfalls.
Okay.
And they have the little capuchin monkeys. So those are going to be running around on us. We get to feed them and put them on our heads and all kinds of fun stuff.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that's traveling?
Do it as often as you can afford to.
Really?
I really, we've got 4 kids, and our oldest one's about to be 25. Our youngest one she turned 19 yesterday. She went on the transatlantic, so she got to do all of those amazing things with us. She went to New York. She's never been there. That was just something really cool she got to do. My almost 21-year-old is going next month on the Celebration cruise, so he'll get to do some of that kind of stuff. But my kids have learned a side of empathy that I couldn't have taught them here, just existing and going to school. They've seen people in really hard situations, some of the places that we visited, because we do one out of California quite frequently, and it goes to some not so great areas of Mexico. And if you do the excursions, you're fine, but sometimes we like to get out and wander on our own, and you end up on a road that kind of shows you more what their existence is. And it just has taught them that their life is really amazing the way they have it here, and that they need to do things to help other people. So they tend to think kind of like I do. I don't always make the assumption that somebody's, and I actually had this discussion with somebody the other day. She used the word ghosting, and ghosting is a big meh for me. I hate that word.
Ghosting?
Yeah, like just stopping communication. And I'm like, I hate that word because I feel like somebody may have a situation you don't understand and they don't want to communicate it to you.
Okay. Sure.
So, like, in that particular instance, we were in a buying group and somebody had committed to buying something and then they just never completed the transaction. The lady was really upset. And I was like, maybe she was embarrassed she didn't have the money to pay it. And I didn't think about that until I started visiting countries where I'm like, the reality is some people don't have the ability to do things. They think they do, or they want to have those abilities to do things, but sometimes they just don't have the capability to get it done.
Right, of course.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty. And my kids did do the Alaska trip with us, so they also got to see like what natural preservation needs to look like as well. Things they can do for the globe in general to keep these amazing animals still floating around the water with us. Like, you don't want to throw stuff in the water because these whales may not exist.
Right.
That kind of thing. So it's taught them things that as a mom you verbally say, but you wonder if it goes in one ear and out the other. And now they've seen it, so it just impresses on them a little bit more, I think, for longer term.
Yeah.
So
I think our generation, Gen Z, tends to take things for granted a lot of the times. Like, you see it on social media. All they do is complain, and people don't realize how hard it is out there, you know? And it's just...
I know. I try and explain to my kids because I'm kind of in the middle where I do have the social media and I'm learning it. I'm trying to understand it. And I'm trying to utilize it. But I also have the pre-tech type stuff. Like, my first tech thing was a pager when I was like 16 years old, 17 years old. And you would text a code on your phone. And my kids, that's just it's an alien, thought process for them to go through. But then I also grew up with people who had it even harder than me. So I have stories I try and pass along to my kids, and thankfully they appreciate the family history. My grandfather was a World War II POW, so he was in a prison camp for almost a year.
Really?
And he wrote a book before he passed away. So my kids have read his book, and I'm like, this just shows you what life has been like, and it helps you appreciate the things you have because people like him fought and worked for you to have what you have now. Things wouldn't be like they are now if we didn't have the history that we have.
Right.
So they got to see things like that, which I think is kind of cool. So anytime we can travel and integrate that in, Like when we did the World War II stuff in Gibraltar, I was like, this is cool because these caves are where these people were hiding and shooting at people as they were attacking this island. And I just think back and go, my grandfather was a bomber pilot. Like, what islands did he bomb?
Really?
What lands did he drop stuff on? Who was hiding in what tunnels wherever he was, where he was trying to fight? Because as much as you don't want to think about the people that suffer from the war type stuff, it has a historical aspect too. Like their struggle, just like our struggle, gets them where they are now. So, Gibraltar may not have been this amazing place to go visit for cruise ships, which, as dumb as it sounds, brings them a ton of income. I mean, we get off and spend loads of money in their city, so that helps support them and keep them afloat. What all happened in their history to help them get to that point where they now have this financial, push from having something to offer.
So would you say travel, like another reason to travel is to get to know the history?
I think history stuff's amazing. Yeah, I don't memorize history. Like I don't remember dates and I don't remember things like that, but I have an appreciation for what people went through to get us where we are.
Right.
So my husband will throw out dates and years and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about with that aspect, but I do know it happened and I know what happened during that event. And I've found different shows and stuff that I really enjoy watching that teach me even more than what I've even seen out in the open. And I don't know if I want to throw like a plug, but there's a really cool show called Masters of the Air on Apple TV. And talking about my grandfather, that was his journey. So the guys in that show were also in like the same prison camp he was in, the World War II prison camp. Yeah. Wow. So it just kind of reminded me that the travel aspect feeds into that too. Like I want my kids to go and see places like that. Like my husband actually said, we should make a trip and go see the camp that your grandfather was in or see some of the Holocaust camps because that was a part of that whole existence. And I was like, it would be really hard to see because you know what happened there. And I'm one of those people, I don't know if I'm just a severe empath or what, but I can like feel the souls when I walk into places where I know people have had a lot of death or a lot of trials or whatever. I said, I don't know if I could handle that emotionally. Standing in a place where I know the Holocaust, like a concentration camp. Yeah, it would be really hard. And my husband has been to one, but he has a very significant one he wants to go see. So we're trying to like plan a trip to where we can integrate that at some point.
And see it all.
And see it all. So he saw a lot of history when he was in Japan, and I thought that was really cool because our daughter got to experience all that too. Because for me, cruises are fun for the travel stuff, but I'm also a beach bum. So like a lot of my cruises are just for me to go and relax and have fun, but I want to do the adventure eventually. But when I take the group, we tend to do more adventurous things. So I love going with them because I get to do all these amazing things.
Right.
Sometimes we'll just rent a car and go.
Yeah.
And people think it's weird. They're like, you didn't plan an excursion? I was like, no. When we were in Ponte Delgado last year, I was like, we just got a car and we just went. And we found this amazing area that had these two huge lakes with all this gorgeous landscape around it. And it had some type of it was a crater. Something happened there, and we got to learn all about what happened. And I don't know, it was just neat. We've been to forts where there were different military units placed and things like that. Seen tons of cannonballs stacked up in different areas, and it's cool to see them in real life. You see them in books, and you're like, yeah, they look huge. And they're huge. So, it's just different. You get to see it in person. It teaches you a lot more.
Yeah, I think I need to travel more because I think the furthest I've been is Michigan, and it was just for work, so I was just inside the whole time.
And we have Airbnbs in Tennessee that we own, and we go back and visit there frequently. And we have one that's right on top of Shiloh Battlefield, which was a battlefield significant in the Civil War. It's also called, I think it's Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh maybe. I don't know. It's a weird name for it because it's not anywhere near that area. It's down in Tennessee. But I did the same thing. We walked the field, and I was like, I can feel the souls out here. Like, this is just so, it was so cool to read the plaques and learn about it, but it was so, it just was so heavy because you could feel everybody in the area. So it was neat. I like doing stuff like that just to experience it. I think you should just know where you came from.
Yeah,
kind of thing. What happened, so to get you where you are.
Yeah. So where would you recommend that I go?
Depends on what you want to do. See, there's my travel agent question. Yeah. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a historical thing? Do you want to do a fun, lazy trip? Like, it just depends on what you
Let's say a fun, lazy trip.
So the fun, lazy trip would be that cruise out of Florida. That's
Okay.
my favorite one. That's the beach bum when you literally walk off. There's no cabs involved, no nothing. The port's right there. The beach is right there. You walk off and just lay on the beach and enjoy your day. If you want to do something adventurous, I would say probably Alaska is one of my favorite ones. Yeah. If you have the time, the transatlantics are really nice. But if people are on a time constraint, Alaska is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. How long did you say was the transatlantic?
The transatlantic was 15 days.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got on in Barcelona the end of May, and we landed in New York, back in New York in the middle part of June. And, talking about history and seeing things, New York's a really cool city if you just want to do just a trip, just to experience things. We took our daughter to the 9/11 memorial. She was born after 9/11. She doesn't understand it as much. I mean, she reads it in books, but now that she's seen the memorial and she saw the people's names and all the people that died on those memorials, it means more to her now.
Something to
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually my husband's birthday, so it's a very significant day for us. Yeah,
oh, absolutely.
And he was a Marine when it happened, so we were very touched by 9/11. So taking her to go see that was a high point for me. Because I felt like it was a big deal that she needed to know more about it. She's like, I mean, I've seen the pictures. I've seen the people hanging off the buildings. I've seen the firefighters pulling stuff out of the rubble. But none of that means anything to you go and see all of the people that were passed. Yeah. And reading women's names with unborn baby next to it, like that kind of stuff really made you realize how significant that day was.
Yeah. I think we all tend to do that on social media. We just scroll and you're like, oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of it, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's just
the instant gratification with just seeing a photo, people see it and they look at it and they think it's cool and then they move on. Yeah. But a lot of people don't realize what the historical aspect, what the history is behind that, and what the significance is sometimes.
So where do you see the future of travel going, and how do you plan to adapt to those changes?
Honestly, we've been seeing more and more people traveling more than they used to. Really? I'm booking way more trips now than I was pre-COVID, which is kind of odd because you would think COVID kind of made people more intense about being out of their zones, but it doesn't seem to have done that. I'm seeing a lot more people want to do all-inclusives, which I've done one, and I loved it. We need to go do it again. My husband and I have actually made that comment a couple of times. We did the one in Costa Rica. We stayed at a Hard Rock Hotel, and it was, Planet Hollywood, and it had everything there, and we had like a beach, a black sand beach, so we could go down and I think people are going to start leaning more towards that kind of thing where they can get, because everybody's so price conscious, I think the all-inclusive kind of alleviates that aspect of it where you don't feel like you're going to be spending a lot of money on top of your trip. But that gets them places where they can go and do things and still experience travel in general.
So what is an all-inclusive?
You go to a hotel and the price will include your room. It's going to include your food. Some of them will include alcohol drink packages, but most of them include any other kind of drinks, sodas, or whatever. Some also will offer some excursions as part of the all-inclusive, just kind of wrapped in, or they'll give you a credit for certain excursions that you can book. But you basically can go to the property and not leave if you don't want to. Like, there's plenty to do there usually, too. I had one lady I booked. She wanted to go out on her 50th birthday by herself because she's lost her husband, and she just wanted to go and be in her zone. And she's like, I love to golf. And I was like, cool, let's see what we can find you. She said, yeah, I don't even know where I want to go. I just want to go someplace warm in the Caribbean. So I ended up finding a place in the Dominican Republic, and she didn't leave the property the whole week.
Really?
She stayed on property. She went and golfed every day. She went to the pool because I had gotten her like the upgraded version of the pool where she had her own private area she could go and swim. And she would go over to the spa area too and do some spa treatments. So she didn't leave the whole week. She was like, this was the best 50th birthday ever because I didn't do anything except just what I wanted to do. Like, well, that's what I wanted for you. And she didn't have to spend another dime. It was all included. So she just paid her price and she went, and included airline tickets and everything, which most of them do include the airline tickets. I have the option to pull the airline ticket out if somebody like does points, like we do Southwest points. So a lot of times I'll just book the hotel because I'm like, oh, we've got the flight covered. Yeah. So I can do it either way, but all-inclusive can be all or none. So, yeah.
So do you also plan the activities?
I can, yeah. Yeah, if people want to do the excursions and things like that, I have gone in and booked quite a few excursions. Some people like to go out and do, I had one lady that wanted to just hike and do something that direction. I've had some that wanted to do like a dune buggy, type experience, kind of like the pink tours we have up here in like Sedona and stuff like that. Stuff like that where they'll just hop into a car and go. The cruises, everybody wants to do the excursion stuff a lot of times, and they'll ask, some will ask me to help. Some people like to book their own, so that's fine. You can do either way when you book your cruises. But getting to book hours and trying to figure out how they all fit together is like the best practice ever, because if I mess it up, it's us. I don't care.
Us, yeah.
So I learned through experience and through boo-boos of my own. But usually, like when we do the ones next month, we're doing two days of excursions, and then one day we're going to do beach stuff. So I do help people kind of mix and blend what they want to do. Like, do you want to go out and do I was trying to think of something somebody's asked me to book for them. It's been a little while since I've done one that somebody wanted an excursion added on. I did have one lady ask me to book some stuff in Washington, D.C., and I told her, I said, I don't just book the activities. I kind of need to book the rest of it, too, because it's all that way I have control over getting you where you need to be and make sure you're close to where you need to be and things like that. So it gets a little harder if you've booked your hotel and I don't know where you are.
Right.
For me to get you someplace else and make sure you have transportation and stuff. So
everything.
Yeah, try and do it all at the same time. But I know, like, my mom and dad like to travel, too, and my mom won't let me book her trips. She likes to book her own because she enjoys it. Some people just enjoy booking their own trips.
Yeah.
And so I've asked her things she's done, too. I'm like, what kind of excursion stuff did you like? What kind of, adventures did y'all have? They just went to Italy last year, and she was telling me, like, about the gondola rides and
that's awesome.
Stuff like that. So, yeah, I try to, and also social media helps here, too. I'm involved in other travel agent groups. Okay. So a lot of times if I don't know something, I'll reach out to other travel agents within those groups and say, hey, we had clients do this. Yeah. What would you recommend? So that's, I guess, another aspect, because you had asked earlier about things I can offer that maybe you can't do on your own. So I have that whole network of people I can bounce to and ask questions. So that actually helps out tremendously. Yeah. Because sometimes I haven't been there and I don't know what to tell you to do. And I can Google things and figure it out, but I want like real life experience on what people enjoy doing.
Sure, yeah.
Some trips are a bust. Some stuff is a bust. So I want to know what's a bust. I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
What did you really enjoy doing? Yeah. So, yeah.
Anything else that you would like to add, that you would like to share?
I just reiterate, just if you can travel, go. Like, it's just so important for so many different reasons.
That's what your slogan is now, travel.
Pretty much,
life is short, travel.
Yep, life is short, travel. I think that's a big, and we didn't get to do that when our kids were little because we had so many little kids and I was a stay-at-home mom. And
right.
As they've gotten older and they can do more, it's been cool because our income has kind of matched that, so we've been able to do more with them. So we've gotten them out in those formidable years when they were learning stuff and shown them things that they needed to see. I mean, my daughter, when we went to Alaska, was 11, 12.
Oh, okay.
Because her brother was 18. Yeah, so she would have been 12. That's a big year. Like, you're still learning a lot. You're still preteen and you're still imprinting a lot of things. And she is one of the probably most empathetic people I've ever met. She's super caring and I think a lot of that has to do with the things she's seen.
Right.
So I just think it's made my kids cooler people. Well-rounded people.
That's all we have for today. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time.